Hello infants, so we're going to continue with the Twits. We've got the Twits by Roald Dahl, and let's check what happened in the last video. Can you remember what happened? So we had the monkeys, and we noticed that they were in their cages, and we had a bird that came to join as well, and he was trying to help out, and he was trying to stop the other birds from landing on the dead tree or the cage. And when that started to happen, Mr. Twit and Mrs. Twit got really annoyed, so they went off to buy some guns. And when they were away, the bird managed to help the monkeys escape, and we left them just as they were starting to head into Mr. and Mrs. Twit's house. So let's see, did you guess how they were going to manage to get them to be upside down? Let's check. The great glue painting begins. This is the living room, announced Mugglewump. The grand and glorious living room, where those two fearful Frumpkin freaks eat bird pie every week for supper. Please don't mention bird pie again, said the roly-poly bird. It gives me the shudders. We mustn't waste time, cried Mugglewump. Hurry up, hurry up. Now the first thing is, I want everyone to paint sticky glue all over the ceiling. Cover it all, smear it in every corner. Over the ceiling, they cried. Why on the ceiling? Never mind why, shouted Mugglewump. Just do as you're told and don't argue. But how do we get up there? They asked. We can't reach. Monkeys can't reach anywhere, shouted Mugglewump. He was in a frenzy of excitement now, waving the paintbrush and the bucket and leaning all over the room. Come on, jump on the table, stand on the chair, hop onto each other's shoulders, Roly-Poly can do it when flying. Don't stand there gaping, we have to hurry, don't understand that? Those terrible Twits will be back any moment, and this time they'll have guns. Get on with it, for heaven's sake, get on with it. And so the great glue painting of the ceiling began. All of the other birds who had been sitting on the roof flew in to help, carrying paint, brushes and in their claws and beaks. Here they are, starting to paint the ceilings. There were buzzards, magpies, rooks, ravens and many more. Everyone was splashing away like mad, and with so many helpers, the job was soon finished. Look at that. Got all of those different types of birds, and they were standing on the table and the chair and then on each other's shoulders to reach the ceiling. The carpet goes on the ceiling. What now? They all said, looking at Mugglewump. Aha, cried Mugglewump. Now for the fun. Now for the greatest upside down trick of all time. Are you ready? We're ready, said the monkeys. We're ready, said the birds. Pull out the carpet, shouted Mugglewump. Pull this huge carpet out from under the furniture and stick it to the ceiling. On the ceiling, cried one of the small monkeys. But that's impossible, Dad. It'll stick you on the ceiling if you don't shut up, snapped Mugglewump. He's dotty, they cried. He's balmy, he's batty, he's nutty, he's screwy. He's wacky, cried the roly-poly bird. Poor old Muggles has gone off Wump at last. Oh, do stop shouting such rubbish and give me a hand, said Mugglewump, catching a hold of the one corner of the carpet. Pull your nitwits, pull. The carpet was enormous. It was covered the entire floor from wall to wall. It had a red and gold pattern on it. It was not easy to pull an enormous carpet off of the floor of the room that was full of tables and chairs. Pull, yelled Mugglewump. Pull, pull, pull. He was like a demon hopping round the room and telling everyone what to do. But he couldn't blame him. After months and months of standing on your head with your family on your shoulders, he couldn't wait for the time when the terrible Twits would be doing the same thing. At least that's what he hoped. With the monkey and the birds all pulling and puffing, the carpet was dragged off the floor and finally hoisted up onto the ceiling. And there it stuck. All at once, the ceiling in the living room was carpeted in red and gold. There they are. Look how hard they're pulling and pulling. And they're pulling the carpet up. Up, up, up it goes. The furniture goes up. Now the big table, shouted Mugglewump. Turn the table upside down and put a dollop of sticky glue on the bottom of each leg, then we shall stick it to the ceiling as well. Hoisting the huge table upside down onto the ceiling was not an easy job, but they managed it in the end. Will it stay there, they cried. Is the glue strong enough to hold it up? It's the strongest glue in the world, Mugglewump replied. It's a special bird-catching, bird-killing glue for smearing on trees. There we there, putting the glue on the top of the bottom of the table legs. Please, said Roly-Poly Bird, I have asked you before not to mention that subject. How would you like it if it was monkey pie they made every Wednesday and all of your friends had been boiled up and I went on talking about it? I do beg your pardon, said Mugglewump. I'm just so excited I hardly know what I'm saying. Now the chairs. There we go, starting to put the glue on the chairs. Do the same with the chairs. All the chairs must be stuck upside down to the ceiling and in their right places. Oh, do hurry up, everybody. Any moment now, those two filthy freaks are going to come rushing in with their guns. The monkeys and the birds were helping them. They put glue on the bottom of each chair leg and hoisted them up to the ceiling. Now the smaller tables, shouted the Mugglewump, and the big sofa and the sideboard and the lamps and the tiny little things, the ashtrays, the ornaments and that beastly plastic gnome on the sideboard. Everything, absolutely everything, must be stuck to the ceiling. There they are. The sofa and all of the smaller things. Do you think they're going to make it in time? It was a terribly hard work. It was especially difficult to stick everything on the ceiling in exactly the right place, but they had done it in the end. What now? Asked Roly-Poly Bird. He was out of breath and so tired he could hardly flap his wings. Now the pictures, cried Mugglewump. Turn all of the pictures upside down. And will one of the birds please fly out into the road and watch to see if that frumptuous freaks are coming back? I'll go, said Roly-Poly Bird. I'll sit on the telephone wires and keep guard. It'll give me a rest. So there they are, just plotting the last couple of bits. The ravens swoop over. They had only just finished the job when the Roly-Poly Bird came swooping in, screaming, They're coming back! They're coming back! Quickly the birds flew back onto the roof of the house. The monkeys rushed into their cage and stood upside down on top of one another. A moment later, Mr. and Mrs. Twit came marching into the garden, carrying some fearsome-looking guns. Don't look very good, do they? I'm glad to see those monkeys are still upside down, said Mr. Twit. They're too stupid to do anything else, said Mrs. Twit. Hey, look at all of those cheeky birds still up on the roof. Let's go inside and load our lovely new guns, and then there'll be bang, 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 and bird pie for supper. Just as Mr. and Mrs. Twit were about to enter the house, two black ravens swooped low over their heads. Each bird carried a paintbrush in its claw, and each paintbrush was smeared with sticky glue. As the ravens whizzed, they brushed the streak of sticky glue on top of their Mr. and Mrs. Twit's head. They did it with the lightest touch that even the Twits both felt it. What was that? Cried Mrs. Twit. Some beastly bird had dropped his dirty droppings on my head. On mine too, shouted Mr. Twit. I felt it. Don't touch it, cried Mrs. Twit. You'll get it all over your hands. Come inside and we'll wash it off in the sink. The filthy little brutes, yelled Mr. Twit. I'll bet you did it on purpose. Just wait till I've loaded up my gun. Mrs. Twit got the key from under the doormat where Mugglewump had carefully replaced it, and into the house they went. Do you think they're going to be mad? I think I would be mad if everything was upside down in my house. The Twits are turned upside down. What's this? Gasped Mr. Twit as they entered the living room. What's happened? Screamed Mrs. Twit. They stood in the middle of the room, looking up. All of the furniture, the big table, the chairs, the sofa, the lamp, the little side tables, the cabinet with bottles of beer in it, the ornaments, the electric fire, the carpet, everything was stuck upside down to the ceiling. The pictures were upside down on the walls. See? Absolutely everything is upside down. And there is Mr. and Mrs. Twit stuck at the bottom. And the floor they were standing on was absolutely bare. What's more, it had been painted white to look like the ceiling. Look, screamed Mrs. Twit. That's the floor. That's the floor up there. This is the ceiling. We're standing on the ceiling. We're upside down, gasped Mr. Twit. We must be upside down. We're standing on the ceiling looking at the floor. Oh, help, screamed Mrs. Twit. Help, help, help. I'm beginning to feel really giddy. So am I, cried Mr. Twit. I don't like this one bit. We're upside down and the blood's going to my head, screamed Mrs. Twit. If we don't do something quickly, I shall die. I know it, I will. I've got it, cried Mr. Twit. I know exactly what we'll do. We'll stand on our heads. Then that way will be the right way up. So they stood on their heads, and of course, the moment the tops of their heads touched the floor, the sticky glue that the ravens had brushed on a few moments before did its job. They were stuck. They were pinned down, cemented, glued, fixed to the floorboards. Through the crack in the door, and the monkeys watched. They jumped right out of their cage, and that moment the Twits had gone inside, and the roly-poly bird watched. And all of the birds flew in and out to catch a glimpse of this extraordinary sight. Here they are upside down, stuck, the super glue on their heads. The monkeys escape. That evening, Mugglewump and his family went up to the big wood on top of the hill, and in the tallest trees they built the marvellous treehouse. All of the birds, especially the big ones, the crows and the rooks and the magpies, made their nests around the tree house so that nobody could see it from the ground. You can't stay up here forever, you know, the roly-poly bird said. Why not? Asked Mugglewump. It's a lovely place. Just you wait till the winter comes, the roly-poly bird said. Monkeys don't like cold weather, do they? They most certainly don't, cried Mugglewump. Are their winters really cold here? It's all snow and ice, said Roly-Poly Bird. Sometimes it's so cold that the bird will wake up in the morning with its feet frozen to the bough that's been roosting on. Then what shall we do? Cried Mugglewump. My family will all be deep freezed. No, they won't, said Roly-Poly Bird, because in the first leaves starting to fall from the tree in the autumn, you can all fly home to Africa with me. Don't be ridiculous, Mugglewump said. Monkeys can't fly. You can sit on my back, said Roly-Poly Bird. I shall take you one at a time. You will just travel by Roly-Poly Superjet and it won't cost a penny. That's very kind of him. The Twits get the shrinks. And down here in the horrid house, Mr. and Mrs. Twit are still stuck upside down from the floor to the living room. It's all your fault, yelled Mr. Twit, thrashing his legs in the air. You're the one, you ugly old cow, who went hopping about shouting, we're upside down, we're upside down. And you're the one who said standing on our heads would be the right way up. You whiskery old warthog, screamed Mrs. Twit. Now we'll never be free. We're stuck here forever. Yeah, still stuck upside down. You must be stuck here forever, said Mr. Twit, but not me. I'm going to get away. Mr. Twit wriggled and squirmed, and he squirreled and he wormed, and he twisted and he turned, and he choked and he churned, and the sticky glue held him to the floor just as tightly as it had once held the poor birds in the big dead tree. He was still upside down as ever, standing on his head. But heads are not made to be stood upon. If you stand on your head for a very long time, a horrid thing happens. And this was where Mr. Twit got the biggest shock of all. With so much weight on it from above, his head began to get squished into his body. Quite soon it had disappeared completely, sunk out of sight in the fatty folds of his flabby neck. I'm shrinking, blurred Mr. Twit. So am I, cried Mrs. Twit. Help me, save me, call a doctor, yelled Mr. Twit. I'm getting the dreaded shrinks. And so he was. Mrs. Twit was getting the dreaded shrinks too, and this time it wasn't fake. It was the real thing. Their heads shrank into their necks, then their necks began shrinking into their bodies, and their bodies began shrinking into their legs, and their legs began shrinking into their feet. And 1 week later, on a nice sunny afternoon, a man called Fred came round to read the gas meter. When nobody answered the door, Fred peeped into the house, and there he saw, on the floor of the living room, 2 bundles of old clothes, 2 pairs of shoes, and a walking stick. There was nothing more left of the world of Mr. and Mrs. Twit, and everyone, including Fred, shouted, "Hooray!" And there they're there. That's them. They've got the stripes.